Hello and welcome. I'm Peggy, and I'm very pleased to have three people to introduce to you today. Jack Logan is here, and I've known Jack for quite a long time, and he has founded Put Down the Guns Now Young People. I got it right,
Yes,
right, Jack? And he's brought along a couple of people here to share with us today. Ransom is here. She is a caregiver. And of course, we have Pastor Calvin Murray. And Cal, you've been on the show several times before.
Amen.
So, Jack, where do you begin?
Okay, Miss Denny, thank you for having us. I'm the founder of Put Down the Guns Now Young People, and it was this month, 7 years ago, that God chose me to go out and to do his work. And we started with Miss Ransom and 3 or 4 other people.
Yeah.
And down the road, he gave us another man, another soldier, and that's in our chaplain, Calvin Murray. But when we started this organization, gun violence was nothing like it is right now. We began being concerned about teenagers and children. And we began to, with our message, to educate children to stay away from guns, as well as staying in school, obeying their parents, and going to church. Then the violence started and accidental deaths. And if we can prevent mothers from going to a mortuary to look down on their son or daughter, then we don't have to worry about another mother going to the Department of Corrections for the rest of her life to visit her child. And if we can do that, and it's been a tough task, and like again, we're coming up on 7 years, and this morning it's been on my mind that we've had so much gun. It has increased and increasing.
Just recently.
From drive-by shootings to nightclubs to churches and school shootings, and where do we end it? And I'm a strong believer of the Second Amendment, but at some point, we have got to look at what God is trying to show us. Where some people will talk about these big weapons, but then when you have people with large weapons in their car, then they have a handgun, then they have all type of other tools at one time. That's why I have a strong belief in allowing law enforcement to do his or her job and doing away with some laws, not of making gun laws, but making more laws for the policeman to have probable cause, without probable cause, to stop a vehicle. Because we have too many people that's walking the street. We have, and President Trump spoke on stuff like this when he was running for president, because and some things he say is right. We have too many people walking the street, driving cars, and we don't know what their intention are. You can make all the gun laws you want to.
That's the problem.
You can make all the gun laws you want to. We have laws against dope. We started off locking people for marijuana, then it moved to crack. Now we have the opiate, and people are still doing all of it. So the only way to cut down on a lot of it is let law enforcement stop cars at their discretion. You're gonna have a racist policeman out there in every bunch, like you have racist people working at McDonald's or working the mall, in the bank, anywhere else. But we've got to take a chance in getting the guns out of the hands of the wrong people. Because, for example, if you was a policeman, if you pull me over and you look at my car and I have 3 or 4 weapons, that should throw up a signal to you that Jack is either got a problem or Jack is going somewhere. Because why would you have all those type weapons in a vehicle? And until we allow law enforcement to do their job and we forget about race, we're going to continue to have these problems.
So you're, as I read this, you're saying that we need to look at the law and change some laws to help our law enforcement.
Right.
Now,
Do I
have that right?
Changing laws will prevent a lot of deaths and a lot of people, not only deaths, but people from going to jail. You know, not everybody, if you haven't committed a crime, you know, with those guns, they can be taken from you, you know, and that'll prevent you from going to jail and committing suicide. Most of all of these people who have committed these heinous crimes with killing a number of people, they have killed themselves, like in Vegas. And also people just need to be aware of their surroundings when they go out in public, because right as we speak right now, somebody's riding around in cars with 2 and 3 guns, and then I'm very concerned about law enforcement as well, because you can go on social media when people are showing all these guns, And I can go on some pages right now on Facebook with young boys and men with all type of weapons, showing them off on Facebook, sitting together in a group. And if I see that, law enforcement see it, and they need to respond and do something about it.
Z, how did you get involved in this?
I got involved. I've known Jack for over a period of 10 years, and he had a extraordinary idea, you know.
I
But
agree.
more importantly, you know, God laid it on his heart. It was something that God foreseen in the future, and he knew that he would answer the calling. And he did. And in the process, he just came about, you know, building a team. And upon him building a team, I was a part of that group. And he's been moving ever since. He's been on the move, hitting the pavement, putting the message out loud and clear.
And it's growing.
And it's growing. Yes, it is.
Thank God.
Yes, thank God. And you know, back then, like he said, we didn't see all the violence with gun violence. We didn't see this then. When this came about in Jack's spirit, the gun violence was not as rapid as it is now.
Seems to me it's getting worse all the time.
Exactly. And you know, it's just like, you know, when God give you an idea or an epiphany or some type of dream, you don't see it right then. But eventually it will come to pass. And this is what we're seeing, it coming to pass. Because Chicago shooting, Texas, the man in Vegas, we can keep naming many, many more. But most importantly, we have really seen a lot of young people dying by the hands of gun violence. So, you know, the message is really strong, and it has become very popular.
And it's in all areas of life,
Yes,
all
it
cultures.
is. All cultures. It doesn't matter. It has no
That's
discrimination
yeah.
upon race, nor creed, nor religion.
Right.
It doesn't matter. You know, it's just something that's needed.
And Pastor Murray,
Yes, ma'am.
you want to express some thoughts on this?
Yes, ma'am. What I've noticed with the tragedies that's occurred in recent months and the past couple of years, all of these individuals had recently purchased their weapons. In this tragedy that occurred a few days ago, this gentleman didn't need a weapon at all, but the government failed in placing his name into the database system that would have prevented him from getting a weapon. And what I've noticed is it's difficult to go anywhere where you feel like you're safe. If you're not safe in God's house, then where are you safe?
This is the thing, and it never occurred to me until about a week ago. And I was sitting in my church, and I always felt safe. And all of a sudden, I guess maybe it was wrong, but I looked at the doors in the church and everything open, and I thought, we've got to do something.
Well, I feel now, because there's a lot of churches that sit out in the country, and then where your church is downtown, that is in a very, lot of pedestrians walk the street. And then you have those people who copycat, who stalk.
That's it.
This man who did that at the church shooting, I don't think that he just walked in that day to do it. He had stalked that church. All these shootings.
These things are usually planned.
They have planned. That's why when I heard President Trump say, well, this wasn't behind guns, but people just don't do crimes on the spur of the moment. They plan those type of crimes. They plan those crimes because the main thing they want to do is get away from the police or from being caught when they do them. This man he may not have had the gun right then when he was planning it, but he was determined to do it for whatever reason. And I feel that maybe the copycat Charleston, just any other major shooting, but people getting back to the churches, I feel that people need to be aware of when they're sitting up in church. And when we host events, I look at everybody walk up. Like the other night when we did the prayer vigil outside at Brusher Creek, I may have been standing there, but I'm focused on everybody. And that's what people have got to be alert. And at the same time, you can enjoy, you know, the event or church, but you have got to be, because we're not living in 1819 anymore. You know, you have people out here that's have every intent to go out and do violence. And I don't look at people who commit these type crimes as mental ill. We can screen mental ill. Those people have sense enough to plot crime and carry out and try to get away, and that takes away the mental illness. When you do something and try to get away. If you do something and stand there, you can say, well, there's a problem. But for you to try to leave, like this man did, and including Dylan Roof down in Charleston and all the rest of them, they try to get away. And if a mentally ill person will stand there because they won't know which way to go. These people all had vehicles and had every intent.
So it was of course, it's pre-planned.
Right. It was pre-planned. I want, people just have to stay prayed up, and I go back again. A lot of people get mad at me, but it's come to this point that, and I hate to say guns need to be taken off the street, but we have a jealous God, and people are looking at those guns the wrong way. They're worshiping those guns, and we're not supposed to put nothing before God. And we're going to see this continue. We're going to see this continue because he's given us warnings.
Yeah.
He's given us warnings. People watch drive-by shootings and I'll break it down on race. I've heard a lot of people say, tell me, this don't happen in my community. Well, now you have the rich boys getting shot, people in upscale subdivisions, and then we look at people who are getting shot everywhere now. I mean, people just do stuff and for no reason, but God is right there because people are worshiping that tool called a gun. And looking at this, knowing this is a gun killer, and I really think a lot of President Trump, because he is our president, but the first thing out of his mouth, he said it had nothing to do with the gun, but it did because the gun killed the people.
Yeah, but the gun by itself, it can't do anything.
No, but you have
you got to have a person.
Right, you got to pick it up just like the people over in Iraq and Afghanistan when they was bombing everybody. You got to pick up that bomb. And we went to those countries trying to bring peace, and maybe somebody to come to this country and make people in America understand.
Yeah. Well, go ahead.
I would just like to say, if we can put in God we trust on the money, why we just can't put it in our daily lives? And my thing is, it's just clearly as we see it, it's a spiritual thing.
Well,
it's plain as day. It's a spiritual battle that we are at war, and it's going on. And we speak about it, we talk about it, we go to church, we hear about it. Why are we participating in the fellowship of God and we not act upon it on the word that He's given us? Because it's powerful. It's very powerful.
Well, we have to remember that God gives us free will. That's a choice to serve Him or serve the devil.
That's right.
Yeah. So as far as why things are happening, that's a personal choice. But I do think this is that God is permitting a lot of these tragedies to occur because a majority of His people have fallen away from the church. What needs to occur, those that know the way should reach back and tell those that don't about a man named Jesus, whom God sent not to destroy the earth or the world, but through Him the world should be saved. So what that means? That means that He took on the sin of mankind, those who persecuted Him and those that didn't, in order to redeem everybody back unto the Father. So religion begins at home. Those individuals that have a home life that is worshiping God, when you go to church, it should show when you get to church. And we need to notice some individuals that are lonely, individuals that are standoffish. You need to talk to those people because you don't know what's on their minds. God gives us the ability to change things. And how do you change things? Through prayer. I'm not afraid. That don't mean that me having knowledge is going to walk into a situation that's violent, knowing that I could get killed. But in terms of me being afraid, God said, I didn't give you the spirit of fear. Right. So if He didn't give me the spirit of fear, then whom shall I fear? No one. Because all of my trust, all of my belief is in the Lord Almighty.
I agree with you, but I also think that we should be mindful of what is going on in our society and maybe step forward and try to help change it.
Amen.
We're going to go to a quick break. We'll be right back.